Hello, my name is Thomas Schrader. I am an undergraduate here at Stephen F. Austin State University, studying cinematography. Over the course of this semester, I managed to create 7 short videos, mostly by myself. In this lecture, I'm going to talk about the goals and challenges that I faced this semester, as well as a breakdown of a few of these videos that I made. I would highly recommend before moving forward to watch my videos. The playlist is linked down below in the description. There will also be a link to the video being discussed in the upper right corner whenever I get around discussing that video. With that out of the way, let's begin. So, filmmaking is a collaborative art form. It has many layers. You have script writers, actors, scripts, gaffers, cameramen, sound operators, prop designers, wardrobe designers, set builders, editors, special effect artists, directors, etc., etc. You get the point. Yet this semester, I didn't have that. I was by myself. I had to be the cameraman, but also the actor. I had to assemble my own costumes and create my own editing. My choice to work alone was largely due to the risk of COVID-19, but these choices also allowed me to gain experience in each of these specific jobs. Now, of course, this doesn't necessarily make me qualified to be a costume designer for some elaborate feature-length movie, but it allows one to be humbled at the different jobs and gain a new new respect for them. The experience also allowed me to focus more on what I really want to do in film, which honestly I think film editing. I think I'm more accustomed to trying to do more editing, more directing. Another big challenge I had to deal with was with the lack of sophisticated equipment. While I will say my computer was strong enough for editing, everything I filmed and recorded on audio was done through my smartphone. I didn't have access to lighting equipment, relying on natural lighting and whatever light I had in my surroundings. And I see that this experience is no different than the filmmakers of the Italian neorealism movement or the French New Wave, who lacked access to sophisticated filming equipment due to the conditions of post-war Europe, instead opting to film with portable cameras and shooting guerrilla style in the city streets or rural countryside. It allowed me to think outside the box, but also give me a greater appreciation of the technology that we have today. While a smartphone may not have the same quality as a professional movie camera, it's still impressive in what it's able to capture with its rather small package. And, with the advancement of these micro cameras through smartphones and GoPros and the internet like YouTube and TikTok, I think we've entered a new age of experimental filmmaking, which, my videos represent. So, the first video that I'm going to be talking about is the first short film that I made this semester, which is Mysterious Mysteries Are Birds Real? This is a sequel to another short film that I did earlier this summer. The synopsis is pretty simple. We follow Sam Ryder's quest in answering the question surrounding the existence of birds. Along the way, we meet a variety of characters that input their own opinions and experiences. This is clearly a parody of the documentary. This is a parody of documentary shows about the paranormal, like Unsolved Mysteries, which were a big part of my childhood. But it's also a jab towards the current affairs with misinformation, fake news, and conspiracies. The idea of birds aren't real. It's sort of an offshoot idea that the Earth is flat. And while the internet does play a role in this sort of misinformation, I do think the mainstream media does have a role in enabling this sort of thought when they create shows like Ancient Aliens or things like that. And what's even worse is that they seem to profit from this sort of misinformation. Of course, crazy conspiracies weren't my only influences in this mockumentary. The main character, Sam Ryder, was heavily inspired by King of the Hill's Dale Gribble, which, if you watch that show, is Hank's anti-government conspiracy nut of a neighbor and friend. The characters of Dr. Fantastic is a reference to the video game character of the same name from Fallout New Vegas. These characters are dopes who happen to be in positions of scientific authority. James Fleming is a play on Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, who also happens to be a birdwatcher. And I think it's kind of funny because, it sort of plays on, is he really who he claims to be? which is sort of implied with the snapshot quote. And then, of course, the final scene is where Sam gets killed by the birds. It is a rip off the Birdemic Shock and Terror, which is also a heavily inspired by Hitchcock's The Birds. The next video I would like to talk about is my third video of the series, 5 Stages of the Pandemic, which is clearly a reaction to COVID-19. As we know, this pandemic is probably one of the most monumental events this year and probably for the rest of this decade. As an observer, I think it's interesting seeing the reactions and fallout to this tragic epidemic, something that we haven't witnessed in over a century. And I think our reactions seem to be no different in the way how we deal with loss, hence the title 5 Stages of the Pandemic. We see denial through the party goers and the politicians who say, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. We see anger through the hoarders and the reaction to the hoarders of taking everything for themselves. And then also we see it through the anger of the armed protests against the lockdowns. Compromise is something that we see through the politician who want to waiver some of the safety precautions in order to bring back normalcy. But it's sort of, however, it seems like they don't really have the proper planning for this. And it's just their hubris seems to be their biggest weakness. Depression is, well, depression. We all been there, laying on our beds and couches wondering what day it is, as you haven't interacted with anybody in a long while. And finally, acceptance, which we acknowledge that we're in this for the long haul, and that we're going to have to take the advice of our medical professionals. And unfortunately, we haven't really hit this stage. Some people are still in denial, and with the tragedy of police brutality, we seem to be continuously falling back to anger. The next video I want to concentrate is Horror, a Halloween Parody. And of course, this is my 6th video of the series, and I think this is the closest to like a conventional short film. It's a parody of the Halloween film, and considering I want to do something Halloween film, I figured, hey, this is something that would work out. One of the major challenges during making this short film was the lighting. I didn't have any proper lighting equipment aside from the light from my phone, and so I really had to rely on the street lights and other light sources to make sure my phone was able to pick up the images of the scenes. I also did some low-angle shots and close-ups, which I think adds some variety and flavor to this short. The low-angle shots obviously make my discount mic more intimidating, and I really like how the close-up shots makes Mike's, you can see Mike's reactions through his eyes. As Professor R. Scott likes to say, the eyes are the windows to a person's soul. This short was also my first police encounter while filming event. Apparently someone must have thought I was being suspicious while I was filming, and it makes sense. I was in the middle of the night and I was trying to shoot this video by myself. However, I think what's funny is when the cops came by, I was filming my scenes dressed as the female victim. So that was pretty embarrassing, but thankfully things were resolved and we were able to get back to business. But it's definitely something to think about when you're filming, to be aware of, to not to star your neighbors or try to make too much of a scene, otherwise you might bring some unwanted attention. The final film I want to talk about is the shortest in the series, and that's the parody of the Klondike bar commercial. This is something that's already been done before and by many other creators. It's a very short length, and its chaotic energy feels rather connected to the style of short videos that we see through platforms like TikTok or Vine, if you remember Vine. There's sort of an amusement when you take something innocent and old-fashioned like Klondike bars and then corrupt it into obscurity. After all, I do believe that the current culture on the internet that we're in is, I think we're experiencing a new age of data. The memes that we see assembled are no different than the collages of old, and they're basically stating the obscurity of the world today. The video plays like a commentary And I think the video plays a commentary on the lengths of what one will do to acquire simple pleasures or attain a high like no other. Going as far as to go overseas and do unthinkable actions. As someone who's been part of the military, a lot of folks, mostly young adults, do join out of desperation, whether to pay for school or debt, in wanting a new change in life, or even wanting to become a U.S. citizen. For its rather short length, I think it does a really effective job at its punchline. So, the conclusion of this lecture. Overall, I think this semester was a productive one despite the setbacks with COVID-19. This film, adjacent with other courses I did, has expanded my knowledge and confidence in filmmaking, which I plan to carry over with me as I walk the graduation stage this December. If you would like to keep up with my work, I recommend that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tater Pictures, which I do post videos regularly. I also do have a Facebook page where I do post more general content on projects that I'm working on, and not just video projects, but also painting and drawing. There will be a link with the description down below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post in the discussion, and I will gladly respond. Anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of the year, and I hope that we'll meet again.